I didn't think that was going to be the title of the EP until we were already much deeper into working on it. And then the whole Blue Ruin, Red Moon connection and all that just kind of spiraled into an obvious, Willow and I started writing our own music, and we wanted to start our own band, and we felt like we had spent too many years being side people in another people's band. It's kind of egotistical in that way, but if you feel like that's what you've got to do, then at some point you've got to take the leap and just focus on that at the exclusion of everything else. And so that's what we did. And the band name itself came from a nursery rhyme Willow had heard back in the day about counting crows, where you see a certain number of crows fly over, and each number means something. It's like 1 for gold, or 2 for copper, 3 for silver. So 3 for silver stuck in her mind as this evocative phrase, and I think the best band names kind of sound like they mean something but don't actually mean anything, like Radiohead, for instance. It's like kind of evocative, but it really just makes sense through repetition. You know what I mean? You see it on a t-shirt and you're like, wow, that looks legit. And so she said 3 for silver, and I was like, great, let's never talk about it again. 3 for silver. So that's what it's been. I think one of the things about us that makes us really, that audiences can vibe with, is that they know that they can sense that we just follow wherever our passions kind of take us, and we don't care about like what it sounds, like what the genre is or like what the influence is. Like we just follow what we're excited about. Willow and I have always loved Balkan music. Like maybe Willow even more than me. It's like just why, it's like you never know. It's like, why would a person who grows up in Austria like be obsessed with American rock and roll or hip hop? Why would I, growing up in Florida in America, hear gypsy jazz and love it? You don't. Why? You never know. But that's one of the amazing things about the world these days, is you can hear the sounds from all over the world and be inspired by it. I heard Balkans, the melodies, the rhythms of Balkan music ever since I was even a kid, and I heard that kind of stuff. It was just like nothing else I'd ever heard. And it's like tremendously technically challenging as a musician too. Like it's a type of folk music that really demands a lot of you, and like the odd rhythms that in a lot of Balkan music too are so exciting to me, and I love playing them. Willow feels the same way. She's gone even farther than me in her studying of it. She's learned a lot of songs, how to sing in a lot of these languages. So those kind of rhythms and melodies and songs have always been a huge part of what inspires us, as much as the more obvious things like swing or old American folk music, blues, that Balkan sound, that gypsy jazz sound, that's right there as well, yeah. It's because our passion is the live performance. I think we're lucky in that way, in that with me and Willow, we love to travel, we love to be on tour, we love, first and foremost, as musicians, our primary joy is the live performance. And so more than being in the studio, more than writing songs, the shows are what we live for. And so that is always what's revving the engine. Well, it's the first part of a bigger project, and I'm excited because next year I think people will be able to see the whole thing and it'll make a bit more sense. But so Blue Ruin, 7 songs, very acoustic, very mellow for the most part. It's kind of a bit folkier than some of our other releases, like The Way We Burn, but we wanted to just go for the very I'm attracted to doing these shorter releases of songs that have a very clear aesthetic behind them. So like instead of like an album with like 20 songs that kind of all over the place, I think it's much more exciting for me in the band to put out a shorter number of songs that have a very clear through line. So like if you want a feeling, like those 7 songs are that feeling. But they are actually just the first half. The second half is going to be called Red Moon. It's another 7 songs. And that's going to come out in probably February of 2020. And that is going to be kind of the exact opposite. It's going to be really loud. It's going to be really raucous. It's going to be really rhythmic. All the material was written pretty much at the same time. We recorded Blue Ruin in December last year. We recorded Red Moon in kind of like March last year, so it's pretty back to back. Yeah. It's more rare that we'll change lyrics. We might cut or add lyrics. It's pretty often that we'll change the feeling or the structure, the rhythmic quality of a song. That stuff is always evolving. Even things that we've played years ago, like that's always evolving. I think we play live so much, and our passion is playing live, and that we always want to stay on the move and keep that stuff evolving, because we're always, we aren't a hugely improvisatory band in the sense that the focus isn't really on soloing, the focus isn't really on like kind of group improvisation, but I think that spirit of improvisation comes through in the way that we're always tinkering with the songs. We're always keeping the arrangements moving, and the freedom with that people who've been listening to us for years get the benefit of seeing that evolution. A lot of the material is written by me at the beginning, not all of it. Willow, she writes a lot too. Me or her usually comes to the group with what already seems like a relatively fleshed out song. Like I could sit there with like a guitar and sing it. There's not much of an arrangement maybe, but it's like, well, here's the verses, here's maybe a chorus, here's a really bare structure. So by the time one of us brings something to the group, it's sort of already at that level. And then the arrangement is something that kind of happens pretty organically amongst the people who are playing on the song. And it might be, what that instrumentation winds up being is usually not known until way after the fact. Like maybe we've been playing it live for sometimes a year. When Three for Silver doesn't have like a sort of like, if anything, I'm kind of like a band director maybe. Like, when we go in the studio, I tend to it's not like I'm sitting there writing out note for note what people are gonna play. It's more like here is your area to play in, here is the intention, fill that space up in the way that you want to. And we try to find people who we can toss them the ball and they're gonna pick it up and run with it, less that we need to chart everything out, because that's less exciting for me. Sometimes a song needs that, but most times I'm more curious to see what evolves from the other people speaking, with their own voices. I think that one thing that I love about us is that we aren't afraid to just write a song and start playing it like immediately. And I think of it like stand-up comedy, and how like a comedian's, the only way you're gonna know is to go tell that joke, see if you get laughs. It was actually inspired by a film. There's a movie that came out a few years ago called Blue Ruin, and just kind of stuck in my head, like not just the title, but the movie itself. And that inspired the song too, in a lot of ways. I didn't think that was going to be the title of the EP until we were already much deeper into working on it. And then the whole Blue Ruin, Red Moon connection and all that just kind of spiraled into an obvious, I like to think that it's something, I know there are some bombastic moments on it. For me, I like to think that it's something that people put on when they want that feeling that hopefully Blue Ruin kind of inspires, and then like it's a late night album. I don't know if there's a message, but I hope there's an ambiance that it creates and that people want. I think in some ways for me, it might be Staggered Leads, because it's not the most amazing one or the most bombastic or show-stopping one. I think that it was kind of the emotional core of the album for me in some ways. That or Looking Exactly Like Nothing at All. I think the thing about Staggered Leads, we kind of came full circle with a lot of folk influences we have, because we took this pre-existing folk song and we just rewrote all of it, including the lyrics and everything. And I think that was really kind of accomplishing a lot of how we think about folk music in the band and what we think it means, and trying to kind of keep it alive, I think if there's any story, it was just that thing about trying to create two short, two concise, ambiance-driven kind of projects that are radically different. So Blue Ruin is very acoustic, it's very dark. It's not always mellow, but it is mostly down-tempo. And then the other side, Red Moon, which is going to be the exact opposite of that. And once we kind of came up with that idea, it was really everybody just got so energized. Like as soon as we hit upon that concept, everybody was just ready to work, So I think if there's any story behind the creation of it, it's probably that idea. This is our 4th Europe tour, and it's really been a a huge game changer for us. Yeah, the response we get over here has been very positive. We began the tour by doing a week and a half in Tajikistan with the U.S. State Department, and that was pretty crazy. Tajikistan, it's just north of Afghanistan. Yeah, so much farther even than like the Middle East. It is like just north of Afghanistan, just west of India. It's all the way over there. Yeah, it was fascinating. The concerts were amazing. It was, touring there provided some interesting challenges logistically, but when you go that far to people who have probably not ever even met Americans, let alone seen an American band play, the energy is off the charts. It's tremendous. We might as well have come from another planet. So it is very rewarding in that way. They were fascinated by the music. A show like tonight, I think the best preparation is the fact that we've spent 5 weeks already playing a show every night, so we're pretty much just ready to go. It's just like a part of the day, like eating lunch or driving to the venue, playing the show. It's just part of the cycle of being on tour. So yeah, some new stuff. We're playing a couple of songs off that album, mostly things from Blue Ruin. We are playing some super new material that we just wrote on this tour, just to keep it fresh. But yeah.